Good morning and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Saxe, this Sunday morning, November 1st, 2020. Let's take a deep breath together. Inhaling, exhaling. Opening heart and mind, allowing ourselves to drop into our heart space so that we are fully prepared for this experience together this morning. Start to mentally unpack all of the distractions that may be running around your brain right now. Let go of obligations, lists of things to do, people to care for. Let go of the work week that you're anticipating, any worries or cares. Just let them all fall away. And as you tap into your heart space, remember who and what you are, unique expression of the divine. Born into this world with specific gifts and talents with which to bless this world that we live in and all beings upon it. Continue to breathe deeply, affirming that life is breath and breath is life. And that same breath is divine love, divine wisdom, strength, and power. And you, too, are those same principles in action. And so we step forward now into this hour or so, ready to learn what we need to learn so that we can step more fully into our divine selves, the Christ principle, pure divine potentiality, shedding all lack and limitation, knowing that we have everything within us to do whatever it is we are called to do. So with hearts and minds open wide, we now sing our centering song together, Spirit's Prayer.
Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's air, let me love. May I have no fear. All the power, all the glory, I surrender, let it be. Loving Spirit dwells in me, now and evermore. Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity.
Now, in a spirit of love and peace, we recite our children's blessing to all the children in the world. Together, children of light, we see you guided and directed by an inward spirit that leads you into the path that is right for you. We see you strong and whole. We see you blessed and prospered. We see you courageous and confident. We see you as the spiritually perfect beings you truly are. Children of light, we bless you. And our inspiration moment is from 365 Science of Mind today, and the word is oneness. There is a place where we begin and leave off physically, but there is no place where we begin and leave off mentally or spiritually. Our minds merge with the minds of others, and as they meet, some silent force within us attracts or repels automatically in accord with our accepted thought patterns. If we do not merge with others in cooperation, in unity, and in happiness, we may be certain that there is something in us that feels it has been rebuffed or rejected. Here is where an adjustment has to be made. If you want sunshine, step out into the sunshine. If you have locked yourself away in a dark closet, why not step into the light? If you have been feeling like everything is against you and no one really cares for you, know that God is in everyone and meet the God in others. See what happens. If you think that all the fears and failures and hurts you have carried around for years are something over which you have no control, come to realize you are born out of life. The thing that entered you when you were born was God, the living Spirit. You are one with everything because you are one with God. Recognizing this truth, you can go forth to meet joy and love. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the floods drown it. That's from the Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 7. Let's repeat 3 times our affirmation together. I am one with God, and my life overflows with joy and love. I am one with God, and my life overflows with joy and love.
I am one with God,
And my life overflows with joy and love. That's why I need an order of service.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Andy Sipowicz is a character from the TV show NYPD Blue, which first premiered on ABC in September 1993. And that show was on for 12 seasons. Andy is described as this. He's a racist, a womanizer, an alcoholic, homophobic. He's a loose cannon, and he didn't believe in God or religion, and he is foul-mouthed. And has a reputation for being really tough and hard on suspects when they bring them into the station and they're questioning them. He had a reputation for roughing them up, and sometimes very badly, depending on what information he was trying to get from them. I fell in love with Andy Sipowicz in these 12 years throughout this show. And yes, in the beginning, Andy is hard to love because of all those things. He is a good cop, a tough cop, but he also had all these other things going on. He was currently divorced at the beginning of the show. He was drunk for most of his first marriage. He was estranged from his son, who is now grown and on his own. He has a very bad, very contentious relationship with his ex-wife. He has a black lieutenant who's heading their command, which is a problem for him because he's a racist. And but Andy I call an equal opportunity racist. He has a problem with everybody who's not like him. Everybody. But a black lieutenant poses a problem for him. He's always suspicious of Lieutenant Fancy's intentions. Anytime he makes a decision, he always thinks Lieutenant Fancy is giving preference to blacks. And Andy really is just forced up against this all the time. He's always fighting with Lieutenant Fancy. In fact, in one season, they actually come to blows in the locker room. And they just have to fight it out because they've been mentally fighting each other for years. Andy's also a homophobe. And at some point, they hire a gay male assistant who's in their command, who answers the phones, who's taking care of all the things the detectives need. And so all of Andy's quote-unquote demons are right here in his life. Just right here, and he cannot get away from them. And he is constantly fighting all of them. You know, the slurs, the denigrating language, the name calling, all of it is just there all day long. His son ends up getting in touch with him at some point, and they're barely speaking. I mean, his son wants to know, you know, what happened? You weren't there for me in my life. And when you were there, you were a nasty, mean, ugly drunk. And I don't like you. I don't like you. But through these 12 years, Andy softens. Like we talked about last week, in the jagged edges and having that water of life rub up against us, that experience of God in our meditation time and throughout our life, in those sacred moments, Andy realizes that he really is a smooth stone. And his edges smooth out within those 12 years. A couple of years after Andy's son shows up in his life, he is killed. He's murdered by somebody as he's trying to be a good Samaritan. And Andy is plunged back into drinking a lot because he can't handle the death of his son. By now, he's remarried to a wonderful woman who's a DA. And she finds the soft spot in Andy and helps him embrace that and realize that and express that on a regular basis. And it is quite a fight in the beginning. When they start dating, she's not quite sure this is going to work. But she keeps seeing the beauty in him. And at some point, Andy sees it in himself. He starts to realize that he is worthy of love. He starts to realize that he can make amends with his son, and they do make amends before his son is killed. But they had about 2 years together where life was better. A couple of years later, Andy's wife is shot and killed in the courthouse. And he loses somebody else that's important to him, somebody else who helped define him as good. And Andy's left on his own. He and his wife, the second wife now, they have a son, a little boy, and Andy is left to raise this child by himself. And you see Andy as he becomes a real father for this son like he could not be for the first one. And I fall in love with Andy even more. And you see more of his beauty coming out and how he deals with his son. And he starts to deal with his grief, this overwhelming grief, because everything is being taken away from him. Not soon after, his partner, who he's had for probably 4 or 5 years, dies of a blood disease. Another person taken from Andy. Somebody else that he was close to. And he struggles against that. This time he doesn't run to the bottle anymore. You don't find him in bars anymore because he knows the answer's not there. The answer's in here. His lieutenant, the black lieutenant, leaves the job. And by the time he leaves the job, he and Andy have a mutual respect for each other. And Andy starts to see people not for their outer shell, but for who they are inside. And in fact, he's almost angry at Lieutenant Fancy for leaving because he's going to miss him, but he doesn't quite know how to tell him. He's going to miss this black lieutenant, the same man that he could not stand to look at when he first came on the job. Now, Lieutenant Fancy's last day, they're both standing out in front of the station house. And Andy's choked up. And he walks over to him and he says, I am going to miss you. Thank you for everything you've done, everything you've taught me. And they shake hands. And they go their separate ways. And he asks Lieutenant Fancy to stay in touch with him. Because this is now a connection for him, a heart connection for him. Andy is getting further and further away from who he was that first season. And you think when you first meet Andy Sipowicz that there's no hope for him. Because how do you go from that list of things that he was at that time to a warm, loving, wonderful to be around, accepting heart? The gay man who's the assistant in the station house ends up babysitting for Andy's son. And Andy's not quite sure about it. Because he's gay, and who knows what he's going to do with his son. That's what Andy's thinking is. Because that's what his bias tells him. That's what he grew up learning about gay men. But his new partner tells him that, Andy, it's not what you think it is. Gay men are not pedophiles. It's different. And Andy's mind is kind of open. He says, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll try this. And he has John come over and babysit for his son. And they end up having this relationship, again, with mutual respect and even love. Even love. John ends up officiating Andy's wedding, his marriage, with his third wife. Ends up officiating his wedding. And he has a love for John that we could not have foreseen that first year. If we talk about jagged edges, Andy probably had them all. He had so many jagged edges. Most of us would have written him off. How many people do we write off because of their jagged edges? How many times have we written off ourselves because of our jagged edges? Over those 12 years, Andy becomes respected by everybody in his squad. Everyone. The women, the men. He ends up commanding that squad. And he's got Hispanics and blacks working for him, women working with him, and they all respect and love him. They start to call each other family. They're helping each other through the trials in their lives, the crises in their lives. Andy is hugging people, hello and goodbye. The same person who had trouble saying to his own son that I love you. Now, he is the mentor. He's the one that his squad members look up to. When Andy is promoted to sergeant, he passes the exam much to his surprise. He's going to the ceremony where he's officially welcomed into being a sergeant. And the only person left in the squad room is John, the assistant. And he says, where's everybody else? And John says, oh, they all went ahead to the ceremony. They'll see you there. And Andy puts on his dress uniform and he walks down the stairs, and everybody in the station house is downstairs waiting for him, giving him a standing ovation as he comes down the stairs. And Andy is moved to tears. You can see his lips start to quiver because he doesn't know what to do with it. And they all salute him. They all salute him. Black, white, Hispanic, men, women, gay, straight. They all have a love for Andy now. And he walks through, because they're all lined up in the station house, and he walks down that line out to the front doors to that ceremony. Loved and respected by everybody. We all have this God spirit within us. And yet, like Andy, we judge others by the shell, by the things that we can see, by the things that our human eyes perceive. We judge by the things that we've been taught about certain groups, depending on how you've been raised and where you've been raised, the messages you got about particular ethnic groups or about women or about gays. Those are the things that cause us to judge people. And like Andy, we can all shift our consciousness. We can all shift our consciousness. And rise up to the kind of person that's loved and respected by all. All of his demons were interior demons. All of them are constructs in his consciousness. What he knew about people from his limited view, his limited human view. And there's no indication that Andy is saved or anything, or gets religion by the end. But you do know that kindness and love are at the center of Andy's being because of how he shows up and how he deals with everybody. Everybody at some point goes to Andy for advice. Or he goes to them and he knows. He says, I know there's something going on with you. Tell me what it is. You're suffering and yet you're trying to hide it. I can see it. Give it to me. Yeah, he's going to people. Whereas before he didn't have time for people. He had no time for anybody but himself and his own problems, his demons that were eating him alive. And then he becomes life, life with a capital L, like in the inspiration moment that I read a little earlier. He becomes life to the people around him. He becomes life for himself. And he's raising this little boy and ends up falling in love with someone else, and they have a family, and they end up having a child together. And he realizes how important family is. He becomes friends with his ex-wife. They have real peace with each other. How many of us have contentious relationships with exes? How many of us? Because we keep that level of consciousness about who and what they are, and we only see them for that. And I believe if it can happen for somebody like Andy, that can happen for any of us. Any of us can shift our consciousness about a thing or a person or a group. The groups, the boxes we put people in. We talk about those boxes so often, breaking through our own boxes, kicking out and opening up those boxes that we put others in. And we say, that's who you are, and this means you get treated like this. Andy had no more boxes by the end of that 12 years. No more boxes. And he's heading up the command. And he sits and he has this moment where he's sitting now in the command office, in the squad room. And you can see him having a moment. How did this happen? How did this happen? I get to have this much love in my life. I get to have this much life with a capital L in my life. And that's where the series ends. So many people came and went through that series, through those 12 years. Andy was the constant. I have to believe that all of us at some point are an Andy in some way. And we may not judge others like he did. We may not be womanizers, racist, homophobes. But we do have biases and prejudices about certain things or certain groups or certain people. We all have them because we all get messages throughout our lives. But we can change that because we have dominion over our thoughts, words, and actions, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. We can decide that I don't want to be narrow-minded anymore. I want to see the God in others, like our inspiration moment talked about. That if you don't have unity or happiness or peace in your life, go get it. Go get it. Just like it said, if you don't have sunshine in your life, go find the sunshine. You don't have happiness or unity, be happiness. And you will draw it to you like never before. All Andy had in the beginning was a hard way to go because that's exactly what he gave out to everybody he met. Everybody he met. By the end of 12 years, he's surrounded by love and respect because he found it within himself and he started to give that out. He showed up as that. He showed up as that. You can have the people in your life try to give you love, 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 and none of it will stick until you say yes and receive it and claim it for yourself. Andy claimed it for himself. And it took him a while, and it was hard, and he took 10 steps back and came 5 steps forward, then took 15 back and came 20 forward, but he kept on getting up, and he kept on trying, and he kept on loving, and he kept on opening his mind. And that's what we have to do every single day. Every single time your buttons are pushed, open your mind. Ask yourself, what's with that button? What is that button pushing? It's pushing something you learned somewhere in your life. Something somebody told you or taught you that you are accepting as your truth. And the only truth that matters is there is one power and one presence active in this life and in the universe. And you are that presence. You are a unique expression of that presence. And when you get that, as I've said often before, everything changes just like it did for Andy. Doesn't matter what you've had. Doesn't matter how much loss. It doesn't how much pain. It doesn't matter how many years you were an alcoholic, that you drank actively, or had some other kind of addictive behavior. I think all of us are addicted to something. May not be alcohol. It may be shopping. It could be pain and loss. It could be drama. It could be bad relationships. You have one bad relationship, then you have another and another and another, and you think that's all you deserve. That's your destiny. It's what Andy had. And then somehow, at some point, he said, I want something else. Someone, his second wife, showed up as love, saw something in him, and a light went on for him. He stepped into that sunshine. Stepped into that sunshine and let it change his life. It's so important that we talk about these jagged edges that we claim and that sometimes we have carved out ourselves. And know that there's a smoothness within those jagged edges. And we can smooth down, and we just let the water of life that is God, that God principle, that Christ principle that we are, those 12 powers that we are, faith, imagination, right judgment and wisdom, life, love, order, power, release, strength, understanding, will, and zeal. You are all those things in potentiality. And when you claim them, and when you express them, you were always that, but you just may not be expressing them. The people on death row I talked about a number of weeks ago, all of them are all of those 12 powers. They have all of those things, but not all of them knew it or expressed it. And it was that one gentleman, the one gentleman on death row who said, I'm not an animal to be put down. I hope that you can see me as something more, because I am something more. I know that now. When he murdered those people, he didn't know that. You can change anything. At any time, you can step into the sunshine. Say, I'm done with the darkness. I'm done with lack and limitation. It's time for abundance. It's time for love. It's time for peace. It's time for unity. It's time for harmony in my life. I want to show up differently now. And I'm going to keep showing up as the divine principle I am until I am the sun radiating for everyone else. And just like Andy, people basked in his light. You'll find people basking in your light. One of my favorite personal affirmations, which I say a lot, sometimes I say it more than once a day, is I am mighty and deeply rooted, with plenty of shade to cover all those in need, including myself. Like a mighty oak with deep roots. My roots are in spirit. My knowledge, my awareness of spirit. Spirit is always within us and animating us. However, if we're not aware that that's where our roots are, if you have not claimed that your roots are in that and that that is your source, then life will just throw you around like Andy got thrown around for all those years, for those decades of his life. And it's when you're deeply rooted, when you know that you're deeply rooted, that you have shade for you, shade, love, peace, joy, abundance for you and everyone else who comes near you. Everyone else, like a mighty oak. I know all of us have stepped under those huge trees with branches out, and it's just cool. And you walk out from the hot beaming sun and get under that shade. And it's like the breath of life all of a sudden. Just like Jesus was the breath of life and gave life to all who came near him. There were people who just wanted to touch the hem of his garment. Just wanted to touch his garment, not even hug him or touch him and his skin, feel him. They just wanted to touch his garment, and everything changed for him. And just like that, Jesus said, you will do greater things than I did. You have that power. Stop walking around like you don't. "12 seasons. A man who's hateful in expression shows up as love." Yeah, 12 years is a long time. But it also can feel like an instant. Look, it is November 1. When did that happen? Holidays are upon us, right? Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks. So 12 years can be an eternity, and it also goes like a flash in our lives, doesn't it? And just by working on it day after day after day after day, after circumstance, after crisis, after something showing up in your life, and working on it all along, then at some point, you can open your eyes first thing in the morning and think, wow, when did I get so lucky? When did I get so lucky? Where did all this love come from? But it takes work. Yeah. It was there all along. All along. That's the thing that gives me goosebumps. It was there all along. Moments in meditation. When I actually heard Spirit say that to me, I was here all along. And I think, oh my gosh. My eyes were closed. My eyes were closed. So every single time you get in the ditch with something, every single time, call out an affirmation. Find one that works for you. Something that pulls your consciousness back to the light, to the sunshine. Maybe it is the Father and I are one. Maybe it is an affirmation like mine that I'm mighty and deeply rooted with plenty of shade to cover all those in need, including myself. Maybe it is everything's always working out for me. I am abundance, I am light, I am love. I'm a unique expression of the divine. Say something positive and snap your head, this rational brain of yours, back to the heart that knows what it is. It's like that. When you get there, we start to heal the world. We start to heal the world. Look at what's going on. The world is crying out for light. And the fact that you're alive right now means you were called to be the light in this situation that's going on right here, right now, in this country and in this world. Each one of you, in the way that you were called to do and be light. It's different for each one of us. If you weren't supposed to be a part of the solution, you would not be born and living in this time. You would have been born sometime other. So every time you sit and say, who's going to fix this? Go look in the mirror. Don't look at Washington, D.C. Don't look at the State House in Austin. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. You are the light. If I have to tell you every single Sunday, I'll tell you every single Sunday. You are the light. You are the light. And as soon as you get that, just like the affirmation, you step into joy and love. It'll overflow into your life like never before. Like never before. Doesn't matter how you began the journey. What matters is what you do now. How you live now. So how you living? How are you living? Let's take this into meditation. Take a deep breath. And as we take a deep breath and step more deeply into our heart space, gather into that heart space all the Andes of the world. Including the parts of you that represent something in Andy. Something that we need to heal. Because you are infinite love, you can gather all those who don't see themselves as love. You can gather them into your heart space right now. You have no limits. Gather all those who only feels separation and darkness, who have no peace, who feel unloved. Gather them into your light as you gather yourself into that light. We all fall short in some way, on some level, in some capacity. And like a mighty oak, cover all those beings who need love and light in shade, as well as yourself. Just breathe in peace and love. Radiate peace and love. Breathe out peace and love. Just keep radiating. Practice radiating every day. Sending out the infinite love that you are into the world, into your circumstances, into your finances, into your work, your relationships, into your body. Love your body. Surround all those in your life that you may have experienced something other than unity and harmony with. Gather them into your heart right now. And let the divine light that you are seep into them. Every circumstance that has given you pause, that has frustrated you, anything that has angered you, gather that in your heart right now and infuse it with love. And let divine wisdom change it. Make the jagged edges smooth. Let the water of life flow past it, into it, through it, over it, under it. And let it change it. Affirm love and joy for everyone you've ever encountered in your life. And set yourself free. Just take a deep breath together. Exhale. Just relax in love and joy. Keep breathing deeply. Let that feeling seep into your bones, into every cell of your body. Let it expand your heart. Let it open and expand your consciousness. Let it expand those boxes, kicking out the doors. There is only joy and love. There is only joy and love. And so it is, and so it shall be. Amen. As we step into our offertory time, we know that this joy and love that we are, this divine wisdom, is also the source of everything that flows into our lives. Let's now recite together our celebration of giving. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all the good that I am and have, all the good that I give and receive, and so it is.
Powerful stuff.
Did it get hot in here? It just got hot or something.
Oh.
You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged, though I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness there inside you makes you feel so small. But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful, like a rainbow. Show me a smile. Don't be unhappy, can't remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, just call me up because you know I'll be there. But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful, ooh, like a rainbow. crazy and you've taken all you can bear, just call me up because you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors, true colors, true colors are shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors, true colors, true colors, beautiful, ooh, like a rainbow. Show me your colors. Show me your rainbow. Show me your colors. Yes. Show me your rainbow. Show me your colors. 'Cause that's why I love you. And show me your rainbow. Show me your colors. So just a few announcements. Quentin's back there pushing buttons. So we start this Tuesday with our book study, 10% Happier. We're reading chapters 1 and 2 for Tuesday, so we can discuss it. So in the beginning of the book, Dan Harris is talking about his life, his upbringing. He is so not a woo-woo person, doesn't meditate, no reference in his life for religion or anything like that. So it's very interesting. So see in these first 2 chapters what may resonate for you and what's kind of familiar, what might be familiar for you in Dan's life. Because I believe our journeys sometimes are the same. So November 3rd, chapters 1 and 2. That's this coming Tuesday, 7 to 8:30 p.m. via Zoom. The link is on Facebook. And I'll send out it's in the last newsletter. I'll send it out again today or tomorrow, in case you don't have the last one. Fall picnic is next Sunday, so right after service, we'll just gather outside. It's supposed to be nice. I looked at the forecast. It's supposed to be in the high 60s to 70. So bring your own food. We're not doing a potluck. We're not having a big thing. There won't be a big setup in the kitchen. Just bring your own food, whatever it is you want to eat and drink. So I'm probably going to do Uber Eats and have it done. So blanket, if you want to sit on the grass, you can tailgate or whatever it is, bring lawn chairs, however you want to sit outside. So it's just picnic day. Come casual, so we can all be outside and enjoy ourselves. Music by Raheem Quasi. He'll be here for service and he'll be during the picnic. He'll be playing music. So board elections are in December. It's coming up quickly. We have 1 more week for applications to come in. So it is kind of confusing. I shouldn't have called it an application. It is not a form with blanks for you to fill in. On the information sheet that I sent out, there's a list of questions. And if you want to be on the board, you need to answer those questions. And it'll tell you what else to send. You need a picture, a resume, something with your background in it, what you've done for work, prior volunteer work if you have any, especially if you've done any here. And did I say picture? Send us a picture because we're going to send all that out so people recognize you and they can see when we send out all the ballot information. They can see who's running and they can put a name with a face. Okay? On the 15th, Charles Holt is back. He'll be our guest speaker and musician. We're looking forward to that. November 29, Lisa Allman Baldwin. That's probably reverse. Is it Baldwin Allman? I need to figure that out. She's here to speak. I'm very excited about her being here. It's going to be a beautiful Sunday. She's also going to do a workshop that afternoon. That is Thanksgiving weekend, Sunday after Thanksgiving. Anything after that, Sir Quentin? So let's, lots of people to pray for. Let's lift up names in prayer for Pete's continued recovery and rehabilitation. He's back here just a few days after surgery. When was it? Monday? Tuesday? Monday. 6 days later, he's in here. I healed him. I went, healed. He was in here playing bongos. 6 days later. Who else? Other names we want to lift in prayer?
Bud.
For Bud and for Tess and her siblings.
My brothers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Lori.
For Dorothy.
Lori Durden.
Lori Jordan, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
She just got hip replacement.
For Jerry and for Chelsea.
Frank Westcott.
Mm-hmm.
My son and daughter.
Their son and daughter. For my daughters and their children. For Carl and Stephanie and Alexine. For Lola and her children. For Melissa and Deborah. Donna and Dot. For Gio.
For Jackie.
For Jackie. For Harper. So for all of these souls and for all those who are unnamed at this time, but who we hold in our hearts and minds, we know that they are whole, perfect, and complete, and their highest and best is now at work in their lives. We know and we affirm for them that everything is always working out for them as it is for us. And so we offer this in the name and in the nature of Jesus the Christ, who is our brother and way shower. Amen. And now we have our prayer for protection. Let's recite together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And now let's stand as we recite our vision and mission together. We are Unity Spiritual Center, Saxe. We are a thriving global community of spiritual seekers, transforming lives through love and the expression of our innately divine gifts. Our mission is to inspire spiritual and personal growth through the teaching and demonstration of unity principles toward the realization of living our best lives. Divine wisdom is at work in every area of our lives right now. Divine wisdom is opening ways where to our human sense there is no way. Everything is always working out for me. So go live your best life. Have a blessed Sunday and a blessed week, and we'll see you next Sunday, November 8th. Namaste.